live from New York. It's a show that is right about Drake May. Just saying. Just got to sneak the
Please
Patriots
leave it
into
out of the show.
Sneak him into the show. Looking good.
We all like Drake
I thought
May.
he looked pretty good.
He
Yeah,
looked
it's
great.
just not relevant for national television.
People said
and
Caleb looked good too.
Yeah, he looked great.
Brew, you don't follow Wilds on Twitter.
We're starting with what might be the best team in the NFC, Brew. The Eagles going to Baltimore. They looked hungry and demanding and thirsty. The Eagles are now 10-2, have won 8 straight. Haven't lost since Sirianni shaved his head, Nick. You owe him an apology for that.
I know. Classic
I liked it. Yeah, I liked it.
Classic 3 by me.
He meant business.
Here he is on bullying Baltimore. All right, we're starting with the Eagles guy.
Yeah, thanks.
Are you feeling great?
Thanks, Wilds.
Kind of sort.
Oh, I mean, yeah. So Philly looks the best they've ever looked under Nick Sirianni. They look better than they looked the year they made the Super Bowl. Absolutely.
What, they won 13 that year?
13 sounds right. They were, Jalen, and they won them early because Jalen was the MVP front runner briefly. But I think this team looks better because of who they are amazingly on both sides of the ball. And we can show you their ranks quickly like they are. I did not see this defensive turnaround coming at all. And I know Brew had optimism that Fangio would make an impact. I don't think any of us thought they could be in the argument for the best defense in football. And they're in.
I thought they'd be good.
Right. And I didn't think they'd be good. I mean, instead, they're objectively great.
Yep.
Yeah.
Then you have, in my opinion, the MVP of the league in Saquon Barkley. Another thing I certainly didn't see coming. Brew thought it was possible. I did not. Then you also add to it, sadly, this part of football, those Lions injuries are potentially mounting to a level that it's unsustainable. And then you have what they did yesterday, which I didn't think they were going to be able to do. Because the Ravens at home against an NFC team.
Oh, my goodness.
And what did they do?
There's some shenanigans.
Brew, they went to Baltimore. They put their feet up. And, Brew, you know what they said? Chris Broussard, bring me a sandwich. And in fact, it wasn't just a sandwich they wanted.
It was a
Philly cheesesteak.
Oh.
And Philly, as Nick Sirianni explained it.
Is that beer?
Listen, they're not a soda pop and chips type of guy. They're a get me a summer brew to wash down this delicious cheesesteak that I'm about to eat in your house.
Do you get
what's up?
Just quickly,
What's up?
I thought you got the hometown delicacy. You didn't bring your hometown.
They sent them to Philly.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, my
Said, get on the Acela and bring me a cheesesteak. And so,
you just getting sloppy
with that
with
said,
it. My sandwiches are neatly packaged.
It's not a sandwich. It's a cheesesteak.
The whole 9
And so,
yards.
Brew, I'm just telling you.
It's fair. They did.
Yeah, I was pretty impressed by Philadelphia.
No chips, though.
Cheese on my mouth.
They did. Look, you know my saying. Sometimes everybody has to be able to make a sandwich. You're not going to hear me rip the Eagles. Obviously, I have believed in the Eagles. I think that's really beer.
Yes, it is.
Well, that might be an FCC violation. It's a summer brew. Summer brew's NA, so it's okay. Go ahead.
This is the team I said months ago was the absolute best team in the NFC East, bar none.
Oh, NFC East.
NFC East, yes.
Is everyone taking credit for the Eagles?
No, I'm just saying. Nick had to say it. He believed in Fangio. Brew believed in Saquon.
Just couldn't quite believe enough.
But I'm going to give him props. I remember I said when the Ravens lost to the Steelers had a blueprint.
Yeah.
I'm not going to say it's foolproof, but a blueprint to stop Lamar. Rush 4. If you can get pressure with 4, that means you have 7 back to guard the receivers and if he scrambles. That's what they did. They sacked him 3 times. He had been sacked 3 times in the last 3 games. He's only been sacked 3 times once this season before yesterday, Cleveland, which they lost. So they were able to get pressure with that great defensive front now on Lamar, and his receivers weren't open. And he missed some passes, there's no doubt. But I want to give Philly credit for that, number 1. All right, and then number 2, they wore down, to your point, they went into the Ravens' house. I got to be objective. They went into the Ravens' house and over time Just like the Ravens want to do with Derrick Henry, because you saw in the fourth quarter, Saquon couldn't get much going.
And then
fourth quarter gets 65 yards because they gradually wore that defense down. I think the defense was, we'll get to the Ravens, but somewhat worn down because deflated by the missed field goals. The offense wasn't really getting anything going, and that can deflate your defense. So, and physically, I thought they wore them out. So, props to the Eagles look great.
Do you want to add something, KW?
No, I mean, these Sirianni stats, I feel like we've done a 180 on a show on Sirianni. What, you're
well,
not?
Go ahead. I want to hear the.
Oh, it's a tweet from Elliott Shore Parks. He's now 44-19. He has the best winning percentage among all active head coaches. I thought
Since he's been in a winning percentage.
Winning percentage.
I think
so
he's second or third in wins
tenure.
since he's been in the league.
Well, like, are you ready? I know you've done a 180 on all these guys, but also like Sirianni's like.
No, I'm not. But I do. I must be fair. I have consistently said wins are a coaching stat.
Yeah.
And a team stat, and they do win with him. I still have there are major red flags that I think can hinder them, but right now they've been able to overcome it. And here's the other piece of it. They are the only team in either conference that right now is locked where their worst case scenario is the 2 seed. Even the Chiefs, because they play Pittsburgh and they don't have the tiebreaker to Buffalo, they could fall to the 3. Detroit can't fall to the 3, but they weirdly can fall to the 5 because they're only a game up on Minnesota. So Philly is in as stable of a position imaginable, and then when you realize that of their final 5 games, Carolina, Dallas, and the Giants are all teams they play. Now, Carolina, I just saw that. I told you guys. That team's better than you think. Only one road game left at Washington, and then a tough game against Pittsburgh. At 10-2, you feel like their worst case scenario is 13-4.
Yeah.
And that 14-3 is very, very possible. And 14-3 might get you the 1 seed. So I think they're in really, really good shape right now.
All right. Meanwhile, bruised Ravens.
Yeah.
Now, we've talked about how they've had a historically great offense and a defense that is supposed to be getting better, supposed to round in the corner. But now they're 8-5. Are you starting to lose faith in your Ravens?
Well, since Nick is still in my things, Wild, you know there's a coffee shop around the corner that you and I like to frequent.
Yes.
Not at the same time, but
sometimes.
you go in early, I go in.
Yeah.
Nick, I went in there today, and guess who was sitting over in the corner drinking a latte?
Ooh.
The Bills.
Really?
So I just sashayed on over to the Bills and got them digits. All right? Just in case.
Wow.
I'm just playing with you guys. Just kidding.
We know the whole Bills team is not in the
I am riding with the Ravens until the wheels fall off.
Well,
and they might fall off. All right? They're wobbly as all get out right now. What bothers me about the Ravens is they can't put together a full game. And I don't mean 60 minutes of good football. I mean where the offense, defense, the special teams, we don't make stupid penalties to kill ourselves. Put that all together. They're like, you leak up, you patch up one leak, and then the water spouts out somewhere else. What have I been yelling about all year with them? The defense and the penalties. Well, guess what? The defense actually, I think, has gotten it together. I'm not saying they're a top, what they were last year, a top defense in the league. They were good against Pittsburgh.
They were good last week.
They were good last week, and they were yesterday.
They were fine.
But that against A.J. Brown didn't wreck the game at all. Jalen Hurts threw for 118 yards.
It's true.
The Eagles ran for 4 yards a carry. The Ravens ran for 5 yards a carry. So until the end, and again, getting nothing from the offense. We'll get to Justin Tucker. But so I think the defense got together. Offense, Lamar wasn't terrible, but he wasn't great. He was, he was good. He was fine. And I thought they had a decent balance with Derrick Henry and the pass. I agree with Lamar's mother. I just think he's almost forgotten's too strong, but that he's a great runner. Like, he's looking to pass, and I thought there were times he could have run. But, and then even, Nick, the penalties. They only had 4 for 20 yards. That is phenomenal, especially for the Ravens. And then, like I said, the offense wasn't great. And the special teams, they left 7 points on the board with poor Justin Tucker.
Well,
and so, like I said, if it's not the offense, it's the defense. If it's not the penalties, it's the kicker. Like, it's just
the short version of that is they're not that good.
Yeah, that's what.
So here's the problem.
I mean, they were great a year ago. It's mostly the same players. And here, let me say this before you quickly. I think they are dangerous in the playoffs.
I don't.
To themselves and to an opponent. Like I think they could beat. I think they could beat anybody. And I think they could
also be one and done.
But here, listen, so I'm very prepared though, because that's what everyone's going to say a version of that today. And then this is what's going to happen. Next week, the Ravens are on a bye. And the week after, they are going to annihilate the Giants.
That's true.
Lamar might throw for 300. Derrick Henry runs for $150. Yep. And we'll be right back on this Ravens hamster wheel, which is they are this legendary all-time great team with a legendary all-time great quarterback and a legendary all-time great running back that just happens to lose all the damn time. And this is what
a bit of an overstatement.
I mean, they have 5 losses. There's 10 teams in the league that have 5 or fewer losses. But this is
all the time.
I mean, they've lost. If we want, you brought up last year, so I'll play that game too. They now have lost 7 of their last 16 games. This year they've lost 5 of 13, and we can this is show the tweets, Dusty. This is how we do it. September 30th. Rex Ryan's taking his victory lap. I told you, the Ravens are the best team in the NFL. October 2nd, my pal Dominique Foxworth, best team in football, Baltimore Ravens. Go forward a few weeks. Ben Solak, Lamar's the MVP this year, last year, and for the rest of time. Okay, cool, got it. November 3rd, Sam Monson, formerly of Pro Football Focus. When the Ravens show up, they're the best team in the NFL. November 5th, our pal Dan Orlovsky. On a per-play basis, these Ravens, #1 rush game of all time, #12 pass game of all time. Well, that seems like a kick-ass team. Yeah. What about last week? Aaron Schatz and DVOA updated. Look at where the Ravens stand among the best offenses in NFL history. They were 8th.
Wasn't that wild?
So here is, and I'm stealing a tweet kind of from my buddy His Darkness of the Amateur Hour podcast. Baltimore, aside from defense, kicker, penalties, and quarterback's history, one of the best teams ever. I mean, it just is. You just got to admit it, Wilds. They're one of the best teams ever, aside from all those things that cost them games.
We're going to move on to the Chiefs, but the Justin Tucker era should be over. It should.
Do you have some? I thought you had some.
Go ahead.
No. I want to go to the Chiefs. I want to talk Chiefs, but Justin Tucker is costing them games. He's going to cost them playoff games.
I don't know what you do, though.
I do. You cut him.
Well,
just like every other
kickers on the street might not be better. We'll talk more Tucker later.
We got to get.
Chiefs scored 19 points, survived a Raiders end-of-game debacle to move to 11-1, clinch a playoff spot. Chris Jones says, hey, a win is a win. Okay, so they're 11-1, smallest point-per-game differential of teams to start 11-1. It's the Chiefs. Now the 76 Raiders won the Super Bowl. That's good. I mean, not too many teams, start 11-1.
Right.
Every other team kind of got close but lost. All right, so are you ready to admit that Kansas City is getting lucky?
No. I'm ready to admit I've never had more fun watching a Chiefs team. Because, by the way, the Raiders were never winning that game. Never. Everyone wants to rewrite the NFL rule book. Let's rewrite it. So now their kicker, who's already shanked 3 in a row, is going to have a 54-yarder to win the game.
Fair.
He's going to
They were at the 32.
Right, but everyone wants it to be a 5-yard penalty that they accept. So now they're at the 37. Right? That's what everybody wants, even though that's not the rule book. Now they're at the 37, and Antonio Pierce said the plan was throw it out of bounds. Sweet. Go kick that 55-yarder. Of course,
he wasn't making a 55-yarder.
No, of course he wasn't.
He had missed 3
and it is what the Chiefs are doing is making otherwise smart people who cover the NFL dumb. So I want to show you another tweet.
Okay.
Because we are doing this reverse history of games they should have lost. Likely's toenail. Okay, so he would have had to catch it, and then they need 2-point conversion. Questionable penalty on the Bengals, otherwise known as Textbook DPI. Non-call on the Chiefs versus the Falcons. I went and looked that up. That happened with 5.5 minutes left in the game with the Chiefs leading. The Bucs don't go for 2, which of course they would have gotten, and then they lose the coin toss, and that's just how the game was decided. Toss a coin,
that's
heads,
not lucky,
Chiefs
but that was
lose.
a bad decision.
Blocked field goal against the Broncos. A, we don't know if he was going to make it. B, they blocked it. Made field, damn Chiefs. They're allowed to play field goal defense, and they're allowed to make field goals of their own. Doesn't seem fair. And the Raiders botched snap. So let's drop a banner for the team that invented them once again, which is Kansas City Chiefs, slowly driving NFL media insane. Because here is my question, Wilds. Who are we measuring them against? Because I know the dynasty they're chasing, the 03-04 or the Patriots, right? Yeah. And the 03-04 Patriots, you know what record they used to have? Consecutive victories in one-score games. The Chiefs now hold it. I don't remember people watching that Patriots team being like, oh, that luck's gonna run out. It was like, no, they're great. And then there is this, which is, how do teams do when they've won back-to-back Super Bowls? How do they start? Well, there have been 2 other teams to start as well as the Chiefs. The 90 49ers, who lost by 2 in the NFC Championship game, and the 94 Cowboys, who then went to win the Super Bowl the following year after losing in the NFC Championship game. This is as good as it can be. And I just don't know why people... The Lions play a team similar record as the Raiders, and it's an end-of-game disaster by the Bears, and the discussion is everyone needs to fire the Bears and the Lions are resilient. The Chiefs do it with all the history, all the pedigree, and Mahomes the last 2 months playing great football. It's like, oh, one and done in the playoffs. It's idiocy.
Look, I agree with you on a lot of the media. I mean, all of those on that tweet, every one of those none of those were luck, except I do think they got lucky on Friday. Like, that's the one time. Denver, they made a play to block that punt.
That's right.
You can't call that luck. They made a play. Carolina obviously wasn't luck. That was just a close game, and they made a game-winning field goal. That's lucky. Now, I agree, Nick. The dude that missed, Carlson, the kicker for the Raiders, had missed 3 field goals of 50 or more. He's almost automatic within 49 yards, but if it's pushed back to 50, it would have been tough. But look, the bottom line for me is this. If the Chiefs had not won the championship last year, after looking bad for the whole second half of the season, I would be ripping them. I would be looking at them like the 2020 Steelers that started 11-0, or even like last year Philadelphia when they were 10-1 but looked shaky. But you just can't look at these Chiefs that way, knowing what they've done, and that Mahomes is incredible in the clutch. They don't. You can't. I'm shocked that people are saying they're going to be one and done and all that. I have to see it. They have reached a point where I have to see it before I believe it.
That's fair. I'm worried about the defense that used to be like crazy stout, and all of a sudden Aiden O'Connell can drive the field looking moderately easy. I'm also worried about Mahomes getting hit.
Well, that part's a real concern.
5 times against Carolina, 5 times against the Raiders. Yeah, 5 times. Yeah, sacks. 5 sacks against Carolina, 5 sacks against the Raiders. And it wasn't. We saw a little bit of it, and I do too much of like Mahomes' body language. A little bit more frustration.
There was one moment
usual.
where he flipped the ball.
Yeah.
And he was super frustrated. That's all real, but like breaking news, and I say it jokingly to the audience, but evidently actually breaking news for the folks who did the Amazon postgame show because they hadn't gotten the telegram that the Chiefs signed a left tackle. I listened to this thing on my Black Friday, and they're like, they need to call this guy, they need to call that guy. DJ Humphrey is there. So I agree. If people are saying they have the worst left tackle position in the league right now, I think they might be right. It's certainly one of the worst, and it has impacted them. But I believe, addressed it. And so now through 12 games, I don't know what more people want because they have already checked something off the list. It's a 3-part plan to become the first team to three-peat. First one is clinch the playoff spot. First team in the NFL do it. Second one is host Arrowhead Invitational. If it were played today, it'd be in Arrowhead. Third one's win the Super Bowl. So I'm going to remain unconcerned.
More of a checklist than a banner there. More of like a to-do list.
Three-peat checklist.
Okay, sounds good.
Thanks for watching. Subscribe here to get more from the show and to check out clips from other shows on FS1.